What's good, y'all? We have finally made it to playoffs. We went through all 82 games of the regular season. We went through the 2 rounds of the play-in tournament, and we are finally here. Well, we kind of are. You guys are. I'm not there just yet. I'm recording this Thursday, right before the last round of the play-in tournament, because I want to make sure this video gets up for Saturday morning. I'm going to only have a little bit to record for that Friday night, so I can have that uploaded to make it out on time. So if you see me in a different shirt or sweatshirt when I'm talking about a few of these series, that would be why. And that leads us straight into what today's video is going to be about, and it is going to be my full first round of the playoff predictions. I'm going through every single series and talking about who I think is going to win, why they're going to win, and in how many games. And we're going to start off by talking about the Eastern Conference, and it makes sense to just start at the top, talking about the first seeded Boston Celtics versus the 8th seeded Miami Heat. Just a few minutes ago, the Miami Heat blew out the Chicago Bulls. For a little bit there, it looked like it was going to be a game, but then the Heat just turned it on and went crazy. I am pretty disappointed, though, that Jimmy Butler is going to be hurt for this series, because I feel like if he was there, it would be really, really hard for the Heat to win this series, but it would have been competitive. Without Jimmy Butler, though, I can't see this series going past 5 games maximum. The Heat are already pretty low on guys that can self-create and, get their own shots off. And without Jimmy Butler, that number goes even lower. They really only have Tyler Hero and then Terry Rozier if he is healthy for the playoffs. He didn't play in either of the play-in games, and you could tell how rough it really got on the offense for the Heat. After Jimmy got hurt in the first quarter of the Sixers game, you could see gradually as the game went on and his knee started hurting more, he slowly got phased out of the offense because he wasn't healthy. He couldn't go out there and give his best performance. And that's when you saw Tyler Hero chucking up shots. That's when you saw the late in the shot clock just have to force something up like that. Like I said, Terry Rozier didn't play in that game, so if he is playing against Boston, it's going to help a little bit. But you can't convince me that a Terry Rozier and Tyler Hero-led team can beat the Boston Celtics, who we've seen dominate the regular season. I do think the Heat's defense is still good enough to give the Celtics some trouble, especially if they catch the Celtics on a cold night where they're not really shooting the 3-ball well. And if that does happen and the stars align, I can see the Miami Heat stealing a game from the Celtics. That's why I said maximum this series should go 5. But in reality, I think the Boston Celtics are going to take out their brooms and sweep the Jimmy Butler-less Heat in 4 games. Moving on to our next series, we have my 2nd seeded New York Knicks going up against the 7th seeded 76ers. Say that 5 times fast. Even if I wasn't a Knicks fan, I would be super excited to watch this series. This is probably one of my top 3 series I'm most excited to watch because both of these teams, I think, match up really, really well against each other. And then even, beyond the teams right here, usually Philly and New York throughout any type of sport, they have that rivalry going. So I think it's going to be a really, really good one. And obviously the Knicks are dealing with their own injuries, with Julius Randle being out for the rest of the season. Philly is dealing with some things too. Joel Embiid missed a big chunk of the season with his meniscus injury. He's been back, and since he's been back, he looks about 75% if I had to give a rough estimate out there. Definitely not 100% MVP level Joel Embiid we saw in the earlier parts of the season, but he's still Joel Embiid, and he's still damn good. Even though he's not 100%, I'm sure Joel Embiid is still going to be able to get his own, though, against the Knicks, scoring-wise, playmaking-wise, rebounding. He impacts the game on a lot of different levels. The one area where I am pretty scared for him is in the pick-and-roll coverage. Jalen Brunson is one of the most pick-and-roll heavy guards in the entire NBA, so I feel like the Knicks are going to just be damn near spamming that at this point, because obviously, it's one of their strengths. Jalen Brunson is incredible in the pick and roll, scoring-wise, playmaking-wise, all 3 levels he can score in it. But also for the fact that, like I mentioned, Joel Embiid is not at 100%, and he is not going to be able to really guard the pick and roll at 100% Joel Embiid, all defensive level we're used to. And at the bare minimum, what it's going to do is force Joel to work hard on both ends of the court. And that's the number one thing you want for stars, is to really exhaust them on defense. So when they come to their offense, maybe they're not 100% there. And like I said, when you have players that are Joel Embiid's level, they're going to get their own regardless. I'm sure the Knicks, with their great center rotation of Isaiah Hartenstein and Mitchell Robinson, are going to make it tough on him. But like I said, I'm already chalking him up for at least like 25 points, 10 rebounds, 5 assists. I already know he's going to be doing that. What I'm more concerned for the Knicks is how they guard Tyrese Maxey. Tyrese is really quick at that guard position, so he could be a little bit of a matchup nightmare depending on, what personnel you have. The Knicks have a few different options they can go. I'm pretty sure they would start off by having Dante DiVincenzo, chasing him around those screens on the perimeter and staying in front of him. They could also go to Josh Hart, who's a little bit better of a defender. He's more stocky, though. It doesn't really deal with the speedy guards like that. Or if Tyrese is really just shredding the Knicks like that, they could switch OG onto him and then kind of just funnel everyone down. Josh Hart would then guard the power forward, which would be Tobias Harris. You guys get the picture, and I know it's much easier said than done, but it's going to be really, really important that the Knicks contain Tyrese Maxey, because if they get him going and Joel going, it's going to be hard to win those games. And just quickly spinning back to Joel Embiid and his matchup with the Knicks center rotation, I think the number one most important thing the Knicks have to do is make sure that their centers play with a smart physicality. We all know Joel Embiid loves to get to the free throw line. Call him a foul baiter, a foul merchant, whatever you want to say. Regardless, he is great at getting to the free throw line, and that scores points for him and his team. The Knicks are a very physical team that love to get into you, love to, make sure you feel them on defense. We got to see how the refs balance this out here because, obviously the Knicks can be super physical. Joel Embiid is going to get those foul calls, or are they going to let it go a little bit, let the Knicks play with physicality, and Joel's not going to get those foul calls? That's going to be really the number one pivotal thing for the series. I do think that this is going to be a really, really good series. I'm super excited for it. I will be there for game 1 inside MSG. It's going to be my first Knicks playoff game, so I'm even more excited for that. And with that being said, my final prediction is that the Knicks will win in 6 games. Next up, we have the 3rd-seeded Milwaukee Bucks versus the 6th-seeded Indiana Pacers. And I'm sure as many of you guys know, at the end of the regular season, Giannis strained his calf, I think is what they're calling it right now. It's some type of calf injury. He missed the rest of the regular season, and he is expected to miss game 1. We don't really know what his timetable will be after that. I assume it's going to depend on if the Bucks win game 1 or not. Either way, Giannis is probably going to be missing some time from this series, and even when he does come back, if he does come back, he probably won't be at 100%. So the Bucks are going to really need guys like Damian Lillard, Chris Middleton, Bobby Portis. All of these guys need to step up if they want a chance at winning this series. Even though Dame was having a little bit of a down season this year, I still have faith in him to lead a team to some wins in the playoffs. I'm not saying that he has to go out there by himself and win this series with no Giannis. But, in game 1, I need a big performance from you, Dame. I know it's Dame time in the playoffs. It's the most important time. I need you to kind of step up for that. And with the Pacers not having the best perimeter defense, I feel like it is primed to have Dame have a good series and a few good games at least. But who I think is really the key to winning this series, especially with Giannis not being 100%, is Chris Middleton. Chris dealt with some injuries throughout this year. He missed some time. He was back, not really looking 100%, missed some more time. It was a lot of on and off, in and out for Chris Middleton. But he ended the season off really, really well. In his last 12 games of the season, he averaged 16 points, 6 rebounds, and 6 assists. And he did so on very good efficiency that we're used to seeing from Chris Middleton of the old, shooting over 51% from the field and almost 39% from 3. People are quick to forget because it seems like such a long time ago, but just 2 years ago when the Bucks won their championship, Chris Middleton was a huge part of that. He was going out there and closing out games for them with his scoring. And we're going to need that type of Chris back. We're going to need him to get those efficient mid-ranges pull up, the catch and shoot threes, the playmaking involved in there as well. We're going to need a big Chris Middleton series. And then for Bobby Portis, I'm really interested to see how he uses his size advantage against the Pacers, especially when he is in the lineup as the power forward, running alongside Brook Lopez, because the Pacers are not a very big team at all. So if Bobby's out there at the power forward, he can get some buckets, as we all know. So he's going to need to take advantage of that. But then on the flip, Tyrese Halliburton for the Pacers should have an incredible series because it seems like every time he plays the Bucks, he just fries them. Even beyond Reese, the Pacers are definitely going to need a big series from Miles Turner to get that scoring going. Aaron Nesmith, I think, is going to have a fantastic series, both defensively and offensively with his three-point shooting ability. I think it's going to be another really close series. Both of these teams, any of their regular season matchups were super interesting to watch. A lot of storylines. You have Giannis with his 60-point ball and all of that shabam. I'm not going to lie, I don't think I've ever used the word shabam in my life, but we'll keep it in the video. My prediction for this series, though, I do have the Milwaukee Bucks beating the Pacers in 6 games. But if Giannis does not return, or if he misses like 3 or so games, I have the Pacers winning in 7. And now to our last first round matchup of the Eastern Conference. We have the 4th seeded Cleveland Cavaliers versus the 5th seeded Orlando Magic. And this series, if you love defense, this is a series for you. I feel like the average score of this game, for this series, is going to be 91 to 89. I think a high scoring game in this series is going to be like 115 to like 109. I think it's going to be just straight clamps. And usually low scoring games and Donovan Mitchell don't really come in the same sentence like that. But since Donovan Mitchell has came back from injury, he has not been looking that good. In his last 8 games to end the season, he's averaging just 18.5 points while shooting the ball really, really poorly. About 38% from the field and 35% from 3, both really low for Donovan Mitchell. And to pile on top of that, for majority of this series, he's going to be guarded by all defensive team member Jalen Suggs. It's not going to be easy. So since I think this is going to be a defensive slugfest between these two teams, there's a few things that I'm looking at right now. The first thing is size, and I know everyone looks at the Cavs with their, twin tower lineup down low with Evan Mobley and Jarrett Allen, and that's a lot of size there. But at that same time, they are running 2 really small guards in Donovan Mitchell and Darius Garland. When you look at the Magic on the flip side of that, they have length and size across the board. They're starting 3 6'10" guys. Jalen Suggs is about like 6'6" there. Markelle Fultz is about 6'3". Like, they don't really have any small guys in their even rotation. I mean, add Cole Anthony in there and everyone else is about 6'7" and up. A good thing for the Cavs, though, is they are a much better shooting team than Orlando. Orlando doesn't really have any plus shooters like that. But when you look at Cleveland, of course, they have Max Strus, they have Sam Morrell. Darius Garland is a great shooter at that point guard position as well. So I feel like their shooting could kind of counteract the length of Orlando and make that defense stretch out a little bit. And then for the Magic offensively, I feel like it's going to be a big collective effort from everyone down the lineup. Obviously they go through Paolo Banchero, number 1. Franz Wagner is one of their top guys as well. But I don't even think that either of them are going to have a crazy series. I think the scoring is going to be very dispersed between those two guys. Mo Wagner off the bench can get you a quick few buckets right there. Cole Anthony, again, as we mentioned, he can get you some buckets off the bench as well. I feel like it's really going to have to be a collective effort. And I do think that this series is going to be very tough, very hard fought. I feel like it's going to be 2 teams defensively just punching each other in the mouth game after game after game. But with all that being said, I do have the Orlando Magic winning in 7 games over the Cavs, and that's 2 years in a row that the Cavs are first round exits. And now that we got the Eastern Conference out the way, we're going to be moving on to the Western Conference, and we're going to, of course, start off with the 1st seeded OKC Thunder versus the to-be-determined 8th seed. I know the whole point of me recording this video in 2 different segments was so I have the most updated information for you guys. But as you know, I'm an East Coast guy. It's already 11 o'clock right now, and I have a whole nother half of basketball to watch to really figure out who's this 8th seed gonna be. When in reality, I really like the Thunder's chances against either of these teams. I think the Thunder are really built for the playoffs, regardless of their age, because I know that's the biggest gripe that a lot of people have with the Thunder. I think that their offense and their defense is very easily translatable to the playoffs. They have a lot of long, athletic guys on the perimeter on defense, and then Chet Holmgren down low being their rim protector. And then on offense, they basically just spread the floor with shooters and let Shea and J-Dub get to work and get to the rim. And it sucks that the Pelicans will not have Zion for this playoff run, because if they were fully healthy, I would say they had a pretty good shot at beating the Thunder. I probably would still take the Thunder against a healthy Pelicans team, but I think that series would go to at least 6 or 7. But without Zion, I just don't see the Pelicans keeping up with the Thunder, especially since the Thunder's defense is so good. It's going to make it really hard for the Pelicans to score a lot of their buckets. So if the Pelicans do move on to be the 8th seed, I have them losing to the Thunder in 5 games. And if it's Sacramento that ends up moving on to this 8th seed, I think that Sabonis could give Chet Holmgren a little bit of trouble. We've seen throughout his early career, Chet seems to struggle just slightly against those bigger, strong post centers, guys like Jokic or Anthony Davis, Sabonis. I know, a lot of centers struggle against those three, but Chet seems to especially struggle against those. So I think the Thunder would have to make it a really big point to team rebound and crash the glass, really limit Sabonis's offensive rebounds. But again, like the Pelicans without Zion, without Malik Monk, I do not think the Sacramento Kings are going to be able to keep up with the Thunder offensively and score enough points. So I would have the Thunder beating the Kings in 5 games as well. This next series is a rematch of last year's Western Conference Finals. We have the 2nd-seeded Denver Nuggets versus the 7th-seeded Los Angeles Lakers. This is another series that's in the top 3 that I'm most excited to watch. I feel like this is going to be another good one. When you think about stopping Jokic and thinking about the best defender possible to put on him to really make him work for everything, I feel like the number 1 guy that comes up on the list, for me at least, is Anthony Davis and his defensive versatility. He's got the size, he's got the quickness, he's got the quick instincts to do that, the long arms. I'm sure a lot of you guys would agree with me on that too. But even if that's the case, it doesn't matter for Jokic. No matter who's in front of him, he is still going to score on you. He's still going to hit you with the misdirection pass to wide open assist. I don't get it. I don't think it's possible to stop Jokic. And to make matters worse for the Lakers, they really don't have the personnel to guard Jamal Murray either. When I think about their perimeter defenders and everything, you have guys like Taurean Prince, who's coming off their bench. He's a decent defender. Gabe Vincent, maybe he just came back, but I don't really know if I like that matchup either. Cam Reddish, he's been hurt for the Lakers a lot. If he was healthy, I'm sure that's the guy that they would really mainly put on him because he is a pretty good defender that he's shown this season at least. But I'm still not even sure if he's going to be healthy for this series. I really just don't like the matchups that the Lakers have for Jamal, and that's really, really bad because when Jamal Murray gets cooking, the Nuggets are really impossible to stop. They already have their hands full down low with Nikola Jokic, and now if you add in the fact that on the perimeter they have to worry about a hot and loaded Jamal Murray, I don't like the Lakers' chances with that. But I don't think the Lakers have absolutely zero chance. I do think that they have a chance in this series. I think that they'll need D'Angelo Russell to have a really, really good series. I feel like they need him to at least average anywhere from 18 to 24 points there, shooting the ball at least 40% from 3, getting him his playmaking in there as well, maybe like 5 to 6 assists. He needs to not fall off the planet, when they verse the Nuggets like he did last year. Not to call him out or anything, no disrespect, but they need D'Angelo Russell to really have good production. I feel like, I don't know if it's a hot take or not, but he is the Lakers' 3rd best player out there, and they're going to need their top 3 guys to really perform. And because the Nuggets make so little mistakes, it's going to be a damn near perfect series for the Lakers if they want to win this. They need Austin Reeves to be giving them some, 15 points per game in there as well. Rui Hachimura to be shooting the ball well. Even all their role players to be shooting the ball well, realistically. They need some production from Spencer Dinwiddie off the bench. It needs a damn near perfect series from all of the Lakers in order for them to win this series. And unfortunately for the Lakers and LeBron, I do not think that's going to happen. I don't think they're getting swept like last year, even though when you watch those games, a lot of those games were really, really close. They just all happened to go to the Denver Nuggets side. I do think the Lakers will win some games in this, but unfortunately, I have the Nuggets winning in 6 games against the Lakers. Our next series is the 3rd-seeded Minnesota Timberwolves versus the 6th-seeded Phoenix Suns. And man, I'm not gonna lie, this may be the absolute worst matchup that the Timberwolves could have had in the first round. They just had an incredible season all throughout the regular season, leading the top of the Western Conference, and their reward is to go up against Kevin Durant, Devin Booker, and Bradley Beal. On the bright side for the Timberwolves, they have a very big team. They obviously run Karl-Anthony Towns and Rudy Gobert together in the starting lineup. But even beyond that, guys like Jaden McDaniels, Nickeil Alexander-Walker is big for a guard. Kyle Anderson is pretty big for that wing position there. They have a very big team in general. The Suns, on the other hand, they don't have much size besides their 2 centers that they run and Kevin Durant. Everyone else is, I believe, 6'7" and below. But unfortunately for the Wolves, it makes it really hard to run their 2 big lineup against the Suns starting 5 because that makes Karl-Anthony Towns have to either guard Bradley Beal, Grayson Allen, or Kevin Durant. And I don't know about you guys, none of those 3 sound really enticing for me for Karl-Anthony Towns. So in order for it to even out for the Wolves, they're going to have to kill the Suns on the boards. They're going to have to own the paint both on offense and on defense. And then they gotta hope that the Suns just don't shoot the lights out from 3, because I would assume they're gonna be shooting a decent amount of them. The Wolves do have much better depth than the Suns, though. You know, off the bench, I really do like guys like Nickeil Alexander-Walker, Kyle Anderson, of course, Naz Reid, who's a 6th Man of the Year finalist this season. They have a lot better depth compared to the Suns, who really have like Eric Gordon. Royce O'Neal's cool, but he's not going to really give you too much of an offense off that. They really side heavy on their starters, while the Wolves, they have more of a complete team, if you want to say. But what I think it really comes down to is which team is going to force the other to play their brand of basketball. Are the Wolves going to really dominate with their bigs and force the Suns to really go bigger? Or are the Suns going to dominate on the perimeter, be too fast for the Wolves, and make the Wolves have to downsize? I think this is another matchup that's going to be really, really good. I think it's going to go 7, at least 6. But I do have the Minnesota Timberwolves edging out the Suns and winning in 7. And now for the final first round matchup in this year's playoffs, we have the 4th seeded Los Angeles Clippers versus the 5th seeded Dallas Mavericks. And this is the #1 series I am most excited to watch. I think this is going to be an absolute banger. Regardless of who is playing them, it is really, really difficult for opposing teams to guard Luka Doncic and Kyrie Irving, 2 of the most prolific offensive scorers we have really ever seen in the history of basketball. And they're both on one team. You know, they can score on all 3 levels. They can play make. They can do whatever they want. The defense is at their mercy. But if any team is going to do it, it's going to be the Clippers. They have decent personnel to do it. Of course, they have their bigger wings like Kawhi Leonard and Paul George to kind of put onto Luka Doncic, who's 6'7" at the point guard position. But then beyond that, they also have guys like Terrence Mann, Russell Westbrook, who are good guard perimeter defenders who can play a little bit on Kyrie, maybe a little bit on Luka if needed. I'm not gonna lie, both of them are probably gonna cook regardless, but at least the Clippers have the personnel. And shout out to Zubac. I really do think he's pretty underrated as a rebounder, as a finisher, as a rim protector even. But I do think that this series is going to be owned by Daniel Theis. I know that sounds crazy in the year 2024, and owned maybe isn't the right word I should have used, but I do think it's going to be a big series for Daniel Theis, and I think the Clippers are going to have to rely on him a little bit more than they're used to. And I don't think that's a bad thing. You know, I think Daniel Theis has been incredible for the Clippers ever since they picked him up mid-season. But I just really like what he brings to the table compared to Zubac. You know, he's more of a mobile big, if you want to say, a little bit more undersized, but he can move his feet better on defense. He's better in pick and roll coverage, which Luka Doncic, like I was talking about with Jalen Brunson, is one of the most prolific pick and roll players in the entire NBA. He's going to be running a lot. And I like Daniel Theis in this position because I feel like he'll be able to keep up with the athletic, high-flying Daniel Gafford and even Derek Lively as long as he gets healthy for this series. I think that he's just a little bit of a better matchup. Also, if it comes down to it, he is way, way, way better at switching onto the perimeter than Zubac. Zubac has pretty slow foot speed for a center. Daniel Theis can hold his own. Obviously, you don't want any type of center guarding Luka Doncic, but if it comes down to it, I really much rather have Daniel Theis out there than Zubac. But this is going to be Luka's 3rd time going up against the Clippers in the playoffs. He's played a total of 13 games against them in the playoffs, and he is averaging, brace yourself for this because this is insane, averaging 33.5 points, 9 rebounds, 9.5 assists in the 13 playoff games he's played against the Clippers. Insane numbers. The 2 series that he has went to 6 and went to 7. He is a Clipper killer. I know it hasn't really led to any series wins for Luka just yet, but this year he has Kyrie Irving and arguably some of the best surrounding cast that he has had in his career. And for that reason, I have the Dallas Mavericks beating the Clippers in 7 games. Let me know which series you guys are most excited to watch. And also in the comments, feel free to leave your predictions for all these series. Let me know if you agree with me, disagree with me, whatever it is, leave it down low in the comments. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure you leave it a like, subscribe so you don't miss the next one. In the description, there's links to all my social medias, so make sure you follow me on all those to keep up to date with me. Catch y'all.